What's up? Welcome in. It is a Thursday. That means you're watching Lunchtime Live. Mike and TJ like normal. We've got a gold medal game going on. We've got some semifinal games coming up. On the men's hockey side of thing right now, if you're not watching or you're at work and you're trying to watch, but your boss just walked in, we got some work to do, but it's still a game coming up towards the end of the second period. So feel free to comment along if you're watching along. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show. Everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. Also on our new and improved Facebook page. If you missed the shows last week, well, you know, one of our FOPs told us that there was too much sexiness on our Facebook page, and that's why it had to be changed. Yes, I do look like I'm bundled up for the Winter Olympics in Milan myself. 65 degrees in the Moss compound this morning. Right now, it's 67 degrees. Oh. We ain't heater people. Suck it up. Deal with it. It's Olympic time. One of our FOPs checking in. What up, Michael? What's going on? Obviously, the Twitter thing has worked itself out, so that's good to know. TJ, how the hell are you on this fine Thursday?
Well, it's 65 degrees in here, but I'm looking and it's probably warmer than it is outside because I see nothing but clouds, and I'm wondering how the hell it's going at Riviera today.
Well, it's not going right now at Riviera because they're still in a weather delay as of, let's see, let me refresh this here. Still in a weather delay at Riviera, which obviously is no surprise to you, not being super far from there. What is a surprise to you, maybe, as we found out last night, Akshay is Pig Latin for something, and right now it's Pig Latin for he's the leader on the course right now through 6 at -3. Tommy Fleetwood, sponsorship's needed. He's at -1. Colin Morikawa, Rory McIlroy, Ryan Gerard, one shot off of Akshay there. So if it gets going, we'll let you know. U.S. and Canada women's gold medal game. That game is about to go to the second intermission with the Canadians up 1-0. Not those Canadians, not the Habs, the actual Canadians from Canada here. We're going to talk about the men's side because there's a pretty interesting dynamic when you break it down. Also, the NBA second half gets going tonight. Last night we made some bold predictions. If you missed those, they'll be out on our social channels here just a little bit later today. But we're going to tell you who's got the most important 28 games in the NBA. Franchise-altering 28-game stretch in the NBA. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to some college hoops. We're going to tell you who's actually legitimately a contender and who's just pretending to go through the motions, kind of like Darren Peterson did for Kansas last night. So if you got anything to say, fire it on through here. We'll let you know. Hey, T, I got a hypothetical for you.
I'm in.
If you're the Raiders and the Niners, do you make a Max Crosby, Brandon Ayuk trade? And you would say, maybe not straight up. And I could respect that because if you're the Raiders, I'm not taking on a potential head case in Brandon Ayuk straight up. But would you make the trade? If you're the Raiders, what do you need out of the Niners other than Brandon Ayuk to make that trade?
Oh, you're definitely going to need some picks. They're going to require multiple assets in exchange for Crosby. I think he's worth at least a first round pick. But I mean, it depends on what Ayuk you're going to get. Are you going to get the Ayuk who's going to have like an attitude adjustment, or are you going to get the same sourpuss that he's been for the last couple of seasons? You're going to be able to get, he's going to be able to get in on the ground floor of something that they're building there, and it could be really, really good. So you got to look at it from Ayuk's standpoint. You got to look at that. That being said, they're crazy, but I mean, Crosby's the one guy that they can get the most assets from right now. And in a team with as many holes as they have, I mean, you got to explore it.
They got more holes than Swiss cheese. Yeah, I think if you're the Raiders and you're going to make a trade for Crosby and you're going to maximize, you don't trade Crosby unless you're getting back multiple firsts. I saw this floated around today. That's what got me thinking to this. As we get close to silly season in the NFL, that we are 18 days away from, if I'm doing my math right. March 9th is when the free agency period opens up. We're already in tag season here, but I think if you're the Raiders and you're going to make that trade, you have to get 2 firsts out of it, and maybe you swap some late round picks or something like that. And I don't know if the Niners in their position would be willing to give up 2 first round draft picks. I say, you know what? At this point, what do you have to lose? If I'm the Niners, you know what? Screw it. You're sending us to Mexico City, as we talked about last night. You're sending us to Australia. You're sending us across country 2 times. I want everybody. I want Minka Fitzpatrick. I want Max Crosby. We're going to get Fred Warner back. We're going to get Nick Bosa back. Screw it. I want Joey Bosa. I want Mom and Dad Bosa. I want everything, and I'm going all in. Screw you. If you're going to send us all over the damn globe, let's do it. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, can you imagine, T, a defense that on your 2 ends you have Max Crosby and Nick Bosa, and then in the middle on the second level you have D. Winters and Fred Warner? Good luck. Good luck, we would say.
You thought they thought our show was sexy now. Wait until that, if that happened, it would be hella sexy.
I'm going to be the most obnoxious son of a bitch in the world if Max Crosby is a Niner next year. I'm just letting everybody know now.
But then, look, Crosby's been a great soldier here, and he's tried to be the voice of reason. He wants to be part of the solution, which I love about him. But it's going to be part of the solution is he's going to have to go somewhere else in exchange for assets. And that's okay. Go give him a chance to win. He's been great. Go give him a chance to chase the title.
Yeah, hold on. Let me turn my phone off here since everybody that seems to want to text me right now.
It's Max Crosby, man. He's trying to he's like, give me the red phone number.
Oh, you got it, Max. If that's you, just give me about 45 minutes here and we'll get back to it. Plenty of stuff going on in the NFL, again, as we approach silly season, including this, something we talked about last week, T, on Lunchtime Live on Thursday. The Chicago Bears, well, they're getting closer to possibly being the Indiana Bears. The Indiana lawmakers in the State House Ways and Means Committee unanimously approved an amendment to Indiana State Bill 27 by a vote of 24-0 on Thursday that would clear a path for the Bears to build a stadium in Hammond, Indiana. A statement from the Bears: the passage of State Bill 27 would mark the most meaningful step forward in our stadium planning efforts to date. And I'm not going to read you the rest of it, near the Wolf Lake area in Hammond, Indiana. So for people not familiar with this, you're literally talking about it's as close to Illinois as you can possibly get while being in Indiana. And people are going to go, and I've seen this a lot today, well, people won't go to 35th Street to watch the White Sox. Well, number one, I wouldn't go to my next door neighbor's house to watch the White Sox right now. Number two, it's not the same comparison. You've got 8 home dates. It's not very far away, and maybe this is posturing from the Bears. Maybe it is. You know, hey, we're gonna back Chicago into a corner. We're gonna literally have a bunch of moving trucks packed up at our facilities, and this, that, and the other thing, and we're gonna go. This thing's a long way from done, but it's a lot closer to a possibility than ever before. And as we talked about last week, T, I can't imagine for the life of me, even as close as you can possibly be to being in Illinois while technically being in Indiana, the Chicago Bears not playing in Chicago. It's already ridiculous to me that the San Francisco 49ers play at Great America next to a substation in Santa Clara. I mean, this would take it a whole step further. You know, you can make the comparisons to the Jets-Giants thing. They play in Jersey, but again, the Chicago Bears playing in Indiana would be a crime.
I completely agree with you, but I mean, they're looking for a good deal. They want to put as little money into it as possible, which is shameful. And part of me says I don't blame the Bears for exploring all these options, but part of me the other part of me just says, look, you're the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
You're a team. You're an original team. You're a team that should theoretically be printing money. Go make it work in Chicago somewhere. I mean, but we've already seen. We saw what was it for 2 seasons? They played at University of Illinois, which was I don't know how far away that is from Chicago. It's further away than Hammond is. I don't see them going to Iowa. I think that's ridiculous. But I mean, this is the economics that we're in right now, and teams are going to go look for good deals. So I think it would be shameful that Indiana would be the home of 2 football teams and Illinois would be the home of 0. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this motivates them to get something done in Chicago.
Champaign, 136 miles from Chicago. Hammond, Indiana, 36 miles from Chicago. So, again,
Well,
if that's what they do, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just a little unusual. But you actually brought up the perfect, most recent analysis to this, and it's how we got the Raiders in Las Vegas.
And I mean, Jacksonville is going to be playing in Orlando in 2027 while they refurbish Everbank Field. But I think that's a different animal because you're trying to make your stadium better. And like you said, you have 8 home games. So for 8 games, yeah, okay, we'll do that. But yeah, I mean, if Indiana throws a ton of money at the Bears saying, come play here, build your stadium here, offers them the tax breaks, if you're the Bears, you're kind of silly not to do it.
Yeah, you're absolutely silly not to do it. All right, I teased it. We're going to talk about it right now. The most important 28-game stretch as the NBA gets back in action tonight. And you look at all this. We made our bold predictions. Again, those will be out here in just a few hours on our Jesus. Every time I see him comment, it screws me up. I'll get to you in a second there, Mackenzie. Our bold predictions will be out here in a couple hours. We've got some great games on the docket tonight. You've got Suns and Spurs from Austin, as we've talked about. We've got Knicks and Pistons from the Garden. We've got Celtics and Warriors tonight. No Steph Curry, but Kristaps Porzingis making his debut for the Warriors. We've got that interesting one with the Hornets and the Rockets here. I'm going to post this now so it doesn't throw us off in our conversation. Vegas Mac checking in from Mama Mac's email on an update on the larceny project that we were talking about for San Francisco and Santa Clara from War Memorial on Saturday. The tickets in the Johnson section that were $524 are now down to $128. Obviously, supply and demand did not make love to themselves there. That's still egregious for that game, but it's a little more sensible now. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that you could pay more to watch San Francisco and Santa Clara than you would to watch Michigan and Duke play in Washington this week was ridiculous. That the 28-game stretch I'm referring to here would be the 28-game stretch for the Los Angeles Lakers. Interesting article this week on by Dave McMenamin on ESPN.com about how the Lakers' quiet trade deadline could make for an explosive offseason. Rui Hachimura is amongst a few guys that could have been moved at the deadline because he's got an $18.3 million salary that is expiring. He's 28 years old. He's been really good in Los Angeles. But as McMenamin says in this article, the Lakers made one move. They sent Gabe Vincent and a 2032 second to the Hawks for Luke Kennard, another shooter. And we talked about this, and I kind of made it tongue-in-cheek as a joke, T, at the beginning of the season, that the Lakers have a bunch of guys that can shoot the three, but nobody that can defend the three. We know what the $54 million question is here. What are you building the Lakers around? LeBron James or Luka Doncic? And Luka is a guy who needs a guy like Austin Reeves, who turned down the $89.2 million extension with the Lakers last summer. He is eligible for a max deal of 5 years, $241 million. LeBron is going to be a free agent if he does not decide to retire. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think he has any plans on retiring from if you've listened to any of his comments. There's two things at play here. Number one, we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts of what the Lakers could potentially do. And obviously it's a Yankees offseason, a Cowboys offseason. We're going to get everybody that we want because of who we are kind of situation. The interesting thing here is this Laker team is really coming into this final 28-game stretch here fully healthy for the first time all season. Defensively, they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. And that's not a shock when we go back to that tongue-in-cheek comment. Jake LaRavia was a big sign, and you have Austin Reeves, and now you have Luke Kennard. Again, you have a bunch of guys that can shoot the three, but nobody that can defend the three. I think this is we've seen the sale of the Lakers, the infighting of the bus children, and that whole thing. Baxter Holmes actually has a great breakdown of this on here. But what's going to come over these next 28 games, I think, is franchise-altering for the Lakers because Rob Pelinka has made it. He hasn't shied away from the comments. They want LeBron to retire a Laker, and he made that comment whether it was 2026 or 2027. LeBron has not shown any interest in giving the Lakers a home team discount, if you will, if he is going to re-sign, which completely hampers and hinders the organization's ability to do anything. They have big-time money. They're planning Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka on spending that big-time money this summer. Well, they want this, and they want that, and they want this. I think the next 28 games for the Lakers, not just for whatever happens this season, is franchise-altering because of what they're going to do. This is a group with Luka and LeBron now they're currently the 5th seed in the West. They've got a first-round exit with those two together. The Lakers, more than any team, need the deepest of deep playoff runs. And when I look at the West, I don't know if they're going to do that. But this 28-game stretch could literally change the direction of the Lakers franchise forever.
Well, yeah, it certainly could. And they start off with no, I wouldn't say it's a gimme. I mean, the Clippers have been playing better basketball lately. But I'm going back through the last, say, 6 weeks of the Lakers' performances here. And I'm looking, and they lost to the Spurs, they lost to the Bucks, they beat the Hornets, they beat the Raptors, they beat the Nuggets, they lost to the Cavs, they lost to the Knicks. So I'm picking out teams that I think may be playoff teams, and this is a 500 basketball team against those teams.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really good at beating up the teams that they need to beat up, and they've lost to the Thunder, lost to the Spurs by 28 in that debacle where Wemby went bananas. This team is smoke and mirrors, in my opinion. They need a lot more than what they have. If this is the group that they're going with, enjoy your April vacation.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, you acquired Luka Doncic with the presumption, I'm thinking, that he's the future of this franchise. Why are you not building around the future now? You will not be, as long as LeBron is there and as long as he doesn't take hometown discounts, this team is going to be right back in the same situation next year.
Yeah, and you when you talk about who they've beat up and who they haven't been able to beat, well, look at their schedule coming out of the break. They've got the Clippers, the Celtics, and the Magic at home. Those are not pushover teams. Maybe the Clippers, because the Clippers don't know their ass from a hole in the ground or a tree from a fake tree. Then they go to Phoenix, to Golden State. Then they got a couple of the games you were just referring to, Sacramento and New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Then they have a game at Denver. Then they play Indiana. Then they play New York, Minnesota, Denver, back-to-backs with Houston. They're at this road trip, I think, will tell you everything you need to know about the Lakers. At Miami, at Orlando, at Detroit. And then their finish to the season is they've got Oklahoma City in there twice. They've got Golden State in there. They've got Phoenix in there. Golden State twice. They play Oklahoma City twice. They play Houston twice, Minnesota, and the Knicks. And then the couple of games that they have against Denver. So they're going to have to earn their way in without a shadow of a doubt. Where the offseason gets kind of interesting here is starting with draft night, as McMenamin goes on to write in this article. They're going to have 3 first-round picks available to trade, 26, 31, and 33. $51 million in projected cap space. This is where you might need a notepad to follow along, or just go read the damn article yourself. $51 million in projected cap space, taking into account the $20.9 million free agent hold for Austin Reeves. Mm-hmm. And then, when you get down further into it, that $51 million in cap space is projected to have is calculated without James and Hachimura, assuming DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart pick up their player options, which gets you to about $13.5 million, which for those two is probably $11 million too much. But this comment that they would love LeBron to retire a Laker, I think there's two things going on here. Number one, at $52.6 million, and he did take a little bit of a pay cut in that $52.6 million, just played in the All-Star game. He's still putting up numbers. Like, I want to be completely fair. Like, the last game we saw when he was coming off of a game or two out with an injury, he put up a damn triple-double. Granted, it was against the Mavericks, so take that for whatever you want, but the fact that they're already saying, hey, we want you, I don't understand the bargaining here from Rob Pelinka. Like, I get it. He's LeBron James. He's going to go down as one of the best players to ever play the game. We're not getting into that argument. If you look over my shoulder right now, you know we're not getting into that argument behind me as he lurks behind me. The fact that you're saying we want to, you're basically telling him, hey, we're going to wait for you this offseason. Well, here's the other thing. There's the Giannis thing. And we talked about that going into the break. If they were going to trade Giannis at the deadline, then you were going to trade him at the deadline. And you could have taken an offer maybe for like Cat and OG Anunoby from the Knicks, but then you're rebuilding in Milwaukee on the fly, which I don't think is something Milwaukee wants to do. I think Milwaukee's also blind to the fact that they think they can put a competitive team around Giannis in the offseason. But hey, go ahead and try. Why wouldn't you here? If the Lakers can go get Giannis and move on from LeBron, now you have the next stretch of, hey, here's the new Lakers here. And I like the looks of that way better. Let LeBron go where he wants to go. If he wants to go back to Cleveland, let him go back to Cleveland. If this dream scenario where he ever links up with Golden State and Steph and Draymond happens, let him go there. If you're serious about actually taking this influx of Los Angeles Dodger money into the Lakers, then you need to do it, and Giannis is the move, and then you figure out the rest from there. Giannis and Luka on the same team, I don't want any part of that if I'm in the Western Conference.
And look, LeBron has made enough money that if he's haggling over a $50 million contract, that's a guy that I don't really want on my team. Sorry. If he's not forward thinking enough to look at the situation and go, wow, we can get Giannis in here and we could have another 3 stars here and maybe I can get another title before I hang it up. If he's not willing to look at it from that perspective, then I don't want him on my team. I think Rob Pelinka has basically cut his own nuts off in this whole situation.
Rob Lowe Pelinka, as our guy Jim Rome likes to refer to him to. It'll be interesting because as Pelinka told reporters earlier in this month, he and Buss are going to be in charge, like I was referring to earlier, of putting Mark Walters' deep money. I think his name's Mark. I don't really care. The guy from the Dodgers who has all the money. One of the guys from the Dodgers that has all the money. And we know what the Dodgers did before they went on this run, and assumingly by most people looking to win another championship. And I think obviously that's, you're not going out on a shaky limb there. The Shohei Ohtani thing. And according to one Eastern Conference executive that McMenamin talked to specifically for this article, they, speaking of the Lakers, could just say F it and go all in on Giannis. And I think that is what their plan is. But if you think that you can do that with LeBron, it's not financially possible, even with Dodger money there. So second half gets going tonight. Again, our bold predictions will be out here in just a little bit. Let's go through some college basketball last night. And then we're going to tell you who can actually be a contender and who can't be. A couple of scores to kind of dive into here a little bit from last night's action. We saw Arizona get back on the winning track as they knock off BYU at the McHale Center. So 2 losses in a row for the Cats. They bounced back last night. T, I'm catching feelings right now, and I really, really need you to talk me out of this because it is almost the calendar month of March, and I know what happens to Arizona in March. But we saw a game last night where no Richie Saunders for BYU. AJ Bonsa was fantastic again. I don't think that team's going anywhere in the tournament because there's just not enough help around him. No Koa Pete for the Wildcats. But when I saw Anthony Del Orso and Ivan Karchenkov last night, and the way those two guys played for Arizona, that's why I think Arizona might actually be a little different than Arizona of years past here. I know that's a very poor way to go into the tournament. Obviously, Arizona's got a couple of tests left. The Big 12 tournament is going to I don't think you need a better tune-up going into March Madness than the Big 12 tournament. They have a game against Houston on Saturday, as we know, at the Fertitta Center. Part of that huge double dip on Saturday of 1, 2, 3, and 4 all playing each other in some form or facet. They also have a game at home at McHale against Kansas. Maybe Darren Peterson will decide he wants to play. Maybe he won't. After that, they have another home game right after that with Iowa State, and then they finish with Colorado before the Big 12 tournament. Karchenkov and Del Orso, if they play the way they did last night for the Cats, I think this Arizona team can actually make a run because they're going to get Koa Pete back healthy. They've been great at 24-2, obviously, all year. Braden Burry's not a great game for him last night, but it was the play of Del Orso off the bench, 22 points and 4 rebounds, and then Karchenkov was 7-12 from the floor, 18 points and 7 rebounds. Del Orso was making all the plays that never show up in the box score. I'm catching feelings, and it feels bad. Like, I got the itch, like that, the itch you don't want to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think you should look at the Arizona season in the context of the conference more than anything else, because this conference is full of good basketball, like really good basketball teams. You got a past Final Four participant in there in Houston. You've got Kansas, which is traditionally good. You got Iowa State, who's been fantastic. You got a Texas Tech team that's unfortunately a huge loss for them the other day, but it's still a good team. And they've mowed right through this conference. I mean, they're 11-2. You expect them to take a couple of stinkers along the way just because it's a long, and especially in the Big 12, it's not as brutal travel as the Big 10, but it's a tough travel schedule. So, I don't blame you for getting these feels. I would get these feels as well for Arizona. That's a damn good basketball team.
Yeah, they are. And again, I know better, and we're going to get even more into why I know better here in a second, and it's not going to help matters. But let's go to Stores for our next one. Is number 5 UConn. They drop one to Creighton, 91-84 last night. Silas DeMary had 17, Braylon Mullins had 25, Terrace Reed had 15 and 11, but Reed only had 2 points in the second half. Josh Dix, 13 of his 21 points for the Jays in the second half. The first home loss on the night that they were retiring Emeka Okafor's number, and Greg McDermott continues to be kryptonite for Dan Hurley. The 4th time McDermott has beat Hurley on the road. And I'm telling you, we've talked about this Big East situation. Obviously, St. John's is, yes, Josh Dix, D-I-X, for you got Ross checking in there. Creighton, where they sit at 8-8, 14-13 overall, 6.5 games back in the Big East. We know UConn's going. We know St. John's is going. The assumption is Kevin Willard's group at Villanova is going. Creighton's going to have to play their way in. But again, Creighton seems to always be the team we forget about, especially this year, because it's not a typical Creighton team. But what Greg McDermott has over Dan Hurley needs to be studied, because he is Dan Hurley's kryptonite. Hurley went on after the game to just talk about the defense, and he said it, not Mick Cronin style, because nobody's as angry as Mr. 5'7" there. But their defense has just been atrocious. They gave up 45 points in the first half, and then they get outscored 46-39 in the second half. Not overreacting to a UConn loss here. It's more the fascination. And if you were smart enough last night, oh my Lord, plus 1,100 UConn or Creighton on the money line to beat UConn last night. A couple people I know very well got paid last night. Very well.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, sometimes a team just has another team's number in a specific location, and it just so happens that it's Creighton in the Big East, but for UConn. But this Creighton team, man, let's not kid anybody. This Creighton team, in order to get in, they're going to have to basically win the tournament. There's no way that this team gets in with a record, even if they win out the rest of their games in the regular season, all 4 of them. I mean, that puts them at 18 wins. This team's going to have to win the tournament to get in, which is unfortunate, because if they can do that to Connecticut, as they've done in the past, I mean, they can do it to other teams. I love seeing McDermott in the tournament, though. These Creighton teams always seem to have something up their sleeves when you get to March.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 10, Illinois. They blast USC last night, 101-65. If you want to feel old, well, I'll tell you how you can feel old right here, because Andrei Stojakovic led the Illini last night with 22 points. How explosive is Illinois? Well, not that USC is a pushover, but not that USC is one of the top teams in the country. They are 18-8. They're 7-8 in the Big Ten. They've been terrible in the Big Ten. Not that that's anything to like, oh, hey, you should be. No, the Big Ten is just as explosive as the Big 12 is. But put this into perspective here. USC scored 65 points last night. Illinois had 54 points in the first half. And this is a team that our guy Vegas Mac loves. He has them ranked 5th in his Mac 5 right now. It's a very explosive group that Illinois has. And when you break down Illinois' schedule, the anomaly on it was the loss to Alabama. And it was a close game, 90-86. I don't think that Alabama team's very good, even though last night's Alabama game was ridiculous. I got to watch that one back after we got done last night. But when you go through the rest of Illinois' schedule, they lost by 13 to UConn. They lost by 3 to Nebraska. They lost the back-to-back games by 3 and by 2 at Michigan State and to a Wisconsin team that's been playing really good basketball right now. The thing with Illinois that's impressive is when you go down their stats, their team stats for the year, you've got Wagler, Stojakovic, Boswell, and Merkovich, all of them shooting over 46%. The worst of that group is shooting 46.2% from the floor. And then you've got Ivisic and Ivisic in the middle. And we talked about the European flair and what Brad Underwood's done in building this team, man. This Illinois team, I'm starting to get a little more towards Mac's side of it, that maybe being ranked 10th in the AP poll is a little bit underrated for what this team is capable of doing.
And they have that huge matchup coming up next week against Michigan, which is going to be must-watch television if you have the opportunity to do that. This Illinois team is good. The Big Ten is good at the top end of it. I know that sounds like a silly statement, but we're talking about Michigan, Illinois, Purdue. Nebraska's kind of come back to earth a little bit. Michigan State. I mean, even Wisconsin. These teams are good. It's the bottom of this conference is just not great, and it kind of drags it down a little bit. But those 5 or 6 at the top are fantastic basketball. I wouldn't want to play any of those teams in March.
No, not at all. And I would say if you want a good laugh Saturday, turn this game on, but it's going to be on like in the second half of Duke, Michigan. The next game for the Illini at UCLA. Then they have that game you referred to with Michigan. They finish with Oregon at home and at Maryland before we get to the Big Ten tournament. 2 games left on last night's schedule. And again, feel free to comment along if you're watching along, or maybe you're taking notes, and that's a wise choice as we get a little closer to March Madness, because that is our favorite time of the year on this program right here. Kansas knocks off Oklahoma State 81-69 last night. But that's not the story, T. The story yet again is Darren Peterson, who said, "Take me out." He had 23 points in 18 minutes last night, and literally shoots a 3, turns around to Bill Self, and basically is like, "Yo, take me out." And Scott Van Pelt said this last night on SportsCenter, and it's something that I've heard him say for years here. His big question is always, how good is your good? And we know when Darren Peterson's on the floor, he's really good. He's one of 5 freshmen in the country, averaging 20 points a game. The projected number 1 pick in the draft, but availability is your best ability. And right now, if I'm running an NBA organization, I want 0 part of any of Darren Peterson. This is a guy that just seems like he got paid up front in NIL, and he's going to get paid up front when he's a number 1 draft pick or wherever he ends up falling in this talented draft class, which is something that we'll talk about a little bit also. I'm not touching him if I have the number 1 pick. And I know a team that probably will if they end up with the number 1 pick, and they're doing everything in their damnedest to get the number 1 pick. He seems perfect for what's going on in that shit show that is the Sacramento Kings right now. This kid, when he's on the floor, he's great. But you're sitting out a game against Arizona at home, number 1 Arizona, undefeated Arizona, at home on a Monday night, the day after the Super Bowl, because you have the flu. That's not a guy I'm drafting number 1 overall, not one bit whatsoever. Especially last night was the final nail in the coffin for me. You can slide your ass down to somebody else because I don't want anything to do with you.
No, you make a great point, especially about the NIL factor on this, and what kind of role that is playing for some of these players. I wouldn't want any part of them either. It's if you're going to be good, like you said, how good is your good? You can't just be good against Oklahoma State. You can't just be good against Penn State. You just can't be good against, West Virginia. You have to be good against the best. And if you're not willing to go out there and be good against the best because it might hurt your feelings, or you have your quote have the flu, that yeah, no, take a lap. And we've seen players in sports.
Can't take a lap, he'll tap out.
Yeah, we've seen players in sports and their draft position be affected for this kind of behavior. So it wouldn't surprise me if that guy slides down the draft board a little bit.
Final one from last night before we tell you who's actually a contender as we sit right here. Gonzaga at the Chase Center defeats San Francisco for the 35th consecutive time, I believe, 80-59. I'm catching feelings here, 2T, and I don't have a problem catching feelings. Everybody gives Gonzaga so much crap because they haven't been able to get the job done. And like last year, they bounced out early. Well, they played the team that lost to Florida in the national title game in the second round of the tournament last year. Gonzaga's always a good horse to kind of attach yourself to. I think the difference, and Dave Fleming last night brought this up on the broadcast, and I think he nailed it. The difference between most Gonzaga teams and this year's Gonzaga team is outside of Graham Ike, you don't really have that guy like a Rui Hachimura, who we were talking about earlier, Corey Kispert, and we can go through the list, Jalen Sugg. We can go through the list of all the Gonzaga players that have had good success when they've gotten to the NBA level. They don't have that. But we saw them lose that rando-ass game to Portland, and I made the comment on the show the night they were playing Wazoo. This is where you want to bet heavy on Gonzaga, because Mark Few's teams, when they lose any game, let alone a game like that, you're going, they lost to freaking Portland? They go on the warpath. Last night, 15.5-point favorites. They won by 21. Could have been way easier. And they made a change last night. And when I break down this roster for Gonzaga, there's a couple of spots that I really, really love. The guard play on this team is absolutely fantastic. And they've got four different guys at the guard position that can do a lot of different things for them. They haven't had Braden Huff, pretty serious injury, no update on his status. That will be something I'm paying attention to when it comes to filling out brackets and laying down some money in March. But they've got Tyon Grant Foster, formerly of Grand Canyon University. They've got Adam Miller, formerly of Arizona State University. And they have a freshman, Mario Saint-Superi. Sorry, I knew I was going to butcher that. Last night they switched Saint-Superi. Oh, my God. They switched Super Mario into the starting lineup last night, move Adam Miller to the bench. Mario's a little bit more of a true point guard. He's a true freshman. And they moved Miller to the bench, and I really like this move because the way the ball was moving last night, and Graham Ike didn't play his best game. He was settling for a lot of shots outside, which is not something typically we see him do. But the change of Saint-Superi into the starting lineup last night, I think is something that could really work tenfold over for Gonzaga, because now you're bringing Miller off the bench, you're bringing Grant Foster off the bench, and Tyon Grant Foster, if you didn't see him at Grand Canyon, this dude does just a little. We were talking the other day about Tamin Lipsey for Iowa State, and he does all the things that don't show up on box scores. This Gonzaga team has a lot of different things they can do. I mean, you've got Jalen Worley, so many guys that can do a lot of different things for Mark Few. Here's why I don't love that I'm catching feelings for this particular Gonzaga team. This team is absolute ass from the free throw line. As a team, they are shooting 69.8% from the free throw line. That's something we know. How do you win in March? You knock down your free throws, you have great guard play. Those are two of the most important things. They have great guard play. This team can't shoot a free throw to save their damn life.
No, and you look at the conference that they play in, and yeah, there's some decent teams in there, but most years Gonzaga just mows through the conference, so your chances of being in a close game are not very good, and that will hinder a team when you get to March, when you're not playing Portland in the second round of the NCAA tournament. You're playing Alabama, or you're playing Illinois, or you're playing a team that's going to be a close game. So the fact that they are booty from the free throw line is kind of a turn off for me. But yes, they spread the ball, they distribute the ball very well, and they're fifth in field goal percentage. So that means that they're getting good shots when the guards are getting their players the ball.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be interesting. We make fun of the college football playoff and the committee that seemingly looks like they don't watch games. This Saturday, on top of the immense, and I'll go into this a little more detail tomorrow on Lunchtime Live, same bat time, same bat channel. But I saw this in the midst of everything else that's going on in college hoops on Saturday with a loaded schedule. You got the top 4 teams in action playing each other in some combination. You've got Michigan and Duke and Houston and Arizona. But at 12:30 Eastern on CBS, this hasn't been done before, and I love this. This comes from the March Madness men's basketball Twitter account. I'm going to read it verbatim. This Saturday, CBS Sports and TNT Sports unveil the current top 16 seeds for the NCAA men's tournament at 12:30 Eastern on CBS. NCAA Committee Chair Keith Gill joins Adam Zucker, Wally Zerbiak, Clark Kellogg, and Seth Davis in studio. The coverage will continue at 1 o'clock Eastern on the CBS Sports Network. College basketball, don't expand the damn tournament. Charlie Baker, you should be fired for even thinking about that. This, at this time, I think is literally genius, because not only are you going to get a feel for what the committee thinks, and they're not going to give you the whole field. They're just going to give you, hey, here's our top 16. This is our 1 through 4 seeds in all the regions. I think this is a fantastic idea and something I will damn sure make sure I'm watching, because it's going to give you a good gauge of who's going where. I really think Florida and Duke are going to end up, or Florida and Arizona are going to end up in the same region together, which would be fantastic to watch.
Oh yeah, I think this is a great idea as well. I'm okay with them revealing that much of the field. I mean, they already do it in college football with the the revealing of the Magic 12 every week. But yeah, why not? I mean, this is great insight into what they're thinking, and the teams that are not in the top 4 seeds, that doesn't mean that they're going to be out of the tournament, but you're like you said, you're looking at a Purdue or you're looking at a Houston and going, okay, this is what the committee is thinking about, how good Houston is. Maybe we need to step up our game and target our conference tournament.
7:34 left in the gold medal game. Canada is still up 1-0 on the U.S. women. So an interesting finish here, because it's starting to get chippy and it's starting to get to desperation mode there. All right, we've talked about this a couple of times. Only one time. And if you're not familiar with the Ken Pom ratings, you need to be, because this is how you're going to make some money in March. Only one time since the Ken Pom rating started in 2002 has the national champion not been in the top 25 in both offensive rating and defensive rating. That was 2014 UConn. So we're going to take a look at this here from a standpoint of who's in the qualification field right now. Here's another thing that kind of goes, and a tip for you as you're getting ready to fill out your brackets. This comes from our friends at Bracket Science on Instagram. 21 of the 25 teams over the past 4 years that have been inside the top 25 in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency have made the Sweet 16. I'm going to tell you who those teams are in a second. If you need some backing on it, well, here you go. 2025, 5 of the 7 teams were in that criteria. Only 2 of them got bounced before. 2024, 7 of 8, only 1 of them. 5 of 5 in 2023, 4 of 5 in 2022. So if you're not familiar with Ken Pom, it's very easy, and you don't have to pay any money for this. So you have no excuse not to use this to your advantage. It's literally kenpom.com, and if you don't believe me, he's got every single year that he's done this. This is the, in all this time of analytics and advanced metrics T and all this stuff, this is something that actually holds water to what you see. So if we were going to look at that list right now, here's your teams that would qualify. Michigan, Duke, Arizona, Illinois, Houston, Florida, Iowa State, Purdue, Gonzaga, and Connecticut. I called him Connecticut. That's weird. Vanderbilt, who lost a weird, you want to talk about a crazy finish last night. Vanderbilt at Mizzou. And that's the end of your list. Sorry, Texas Tech, but that's not going to stay there, obviously, with the unfortunate situation with JT Toppin.
Yeah.
So out of that list, T, the only one that's kind of interesting here to me is this Michigan State team, because offensively they're 40th, defensively they're 6th. When you want to take the other side of the spectrum, Illinois first in offensive rating. Last night was a perfect example of that. They're 23rd in defensive rating, so they're kind of hanging on that cut line there. Do you think, with what we have right now, that this thing holds true again, that our national champion again comes off of that list? And do you feel comfortable enough making the majority of your Sweet 16 off of this list, depending on how the brackets shake out?
I think that I would be willing to take half of those teams would go into the Sweet 16 for sure. The most intriguing one there to me is Vanderbilt, and they're intriguing to me from a betting perspective because I bet you can get really good value for this 21-win team at this point before we get going in the tournament. Like that is a good basketball team that seems very underrated, but the stats aren't going to lie to you, right? Facts over feelings. This doesn't lie. I have no doubt that the champion would, barring some miracle, would come out of this group that you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's the thing to watch, and I'm telling you, as you get a little bit closer, just go in. It's automatically updated through the prior night's games every morning when you go on there, and you can literally look at it. And I'm telling you, I get my phone. I'm the most popular guy in the world because everybody wants to know what I think about March Madness every year. My phone for like the next, month. It seems I've got 1 million friends, and 90% of the people I know actually can't stand me. So that's where you want to look. As far as college basketball goes tonight, we get an off night. As far as quality of games, there's really nothing on tonight's schedule. You're looking at a bunch of teams that maybe you're going to file into your 13-4 upsets, some 12-5s maybe, but not a whole lot on the schedule tonight. Obviously, the biggest part of the schedule comes on Saturday this week. Couple good games tomorrow. A couple of those teams that everybody wants to clown on, including the one team that's still undefeated in Miami of Ohio. And I'll when you look at their numbers, and I'm not saying they have a Marcus Camby on this team, so don't at me, bro. But when you look at their numbers and how they've covered the spread and their close calls and their blowouts, they've been underdogs in four games this year, and they've won all 4 of them. They're 26-0 tomorrow night. They host Bowling Green at Millett Hall in Oxford. Indiana and Purdue, that game at Mackey tomorrow night, and then VCU takes on St. Louis. St. Louis coming off of their first loss of the season. T, we've got the, as we're watching this gold medal game now in the final 5 minutes here from Milan, a couple of minutes here. I wanted to go real quick with you on this. We've got our semifinal matchups set in the men's side of hockey. Do you think we see an upset, or are we looking at the U.S. and Canada? Because it's interesting. 25 out of 25 Canadians, NHLers. 25 out of 25 U.S. players, NHLers. 24 out of 25 Finnish players are in the NHL. 6 out of 25 Slovakians are NHL players. Do you think Slovakia has a chance to advance?
I think I'll say this. I think Finland has a better chance of beating Canada than the Slovakians have of beating the United States.
There you go. And don't forget, 5 a.m. on the West Coast, the gold medal game in hockey. Those games tomorrow, I think will both be done by the time I get on for Lunchtime Live. I wanted to show you this because we mentioned it the other day. How freaking sweet are those?
I love the old school D in Detroit. That's just beauty. And the reason why I like these because they didn't stray from the team colors. They've been those colors for a long time, and they kept the same script. They look nice. They're not some like we've got tie-dye inside the left sleeve because when the sun shines off the harbor. Those are great looking uniforms. I'd if I was a Tiger fan, I'd go buy one of those.
I was seriously disappointed when I went to Detroit and saw how small the D has gotten on the hats. I wanted the Tom Selleck D, and it's a very tiny D. We'll just leave that at that. Plenty of stuff to talk about on tomorrow's program. Again, our NBA bold predictions will be out here in a couple hours. For Vegas Mac, for T, I'm Mike. You know the drill. We'll talk with you tomorrow. We're out.